August 636, the Yarmouk River Gorge, 6 days' march south of Damascus. Khalid ibn al-Walid commands 15,000 cavalry and infantry against a Byzantine force. Historians peg between 80,000 and 200,000. The number shifts depending on whether you count Vahan's Armenian regulars, the Arab Christian auxiliaries under Jabala ibn al-Ayham, or the Ghassanid scouts who knew every wadi in the region. The Byzantines hold the plateau, the Muslims hold the road. Between them, open ground, summer heat that cracks leather, and 6 days of skirmishing that leave 4,000 Byzantines dead before the main engagement even begins. The northern bank has 3 access points, each controlled by Khalid's scouts from August 10th onward. The plateau above is 8 square miles of flat ground, perfect for Roman formation warfare. Khalid doesn't want a formation battle. He wants a rout. Discipline collapses. The left Byzantine wing, led by Gregory the Armenian, pushes too far. Khalid's right cavalry, 1,700 riders under Amr ibn al-As, circles wide and hits Gregory's flank at noon. Gregory's wing breaks in 40 minutes. His body is found 3 days later in a ravine, pierced by 7 wounds: lance, sword, arrow, and one unidentified puncture contemporary sources call the Mark of God. In the first 10 minutes, Gregory loses 400 men. He orders a defensive square. Khalid's cavalry doesn't engage the square directly. They circle it, shooting inward, waiting for gaps. When a gap opens, a wedge of 200 Muslim cavalry drives through. The square collapses. Gregory's men scatter into 3 groups. One group, 800 men, tries to retreat to the plateau. They're intercepted by Khalid's reserve cavalry and cut down within sight of the Byzantine camp. Another group, 600 men, surrenders. They're disarmed and held under guard until August 21st, then released under the terms negotiated after the battle. The third group, 1,100 men, fights to the death around Gregory. None survive. Support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from al-Tabari's Tariq al-Rusul wal-Muluks, compiled in the 9th century from eyewitness accounts and military dispatches, and Theophanes the Confessor's Chronographia, written in 810-814 from Byzantine court records that survived the iconoclast purges. These aren't generic chronicles. Al-Tabari had access to letters Khalid sent to Caliph Umar during the campaign, and Theophanes used logbooks from Vahan's supply officers. Now back to the information. Crossbowman reloads once. They target not the front line, but the command cluster 200 paces back. Vahan's signalmen, 12 men with flags and horns, die in 15 minutes. Without signals, Roman maniples can't coordinate. The center doesn't break, it fragments. Units retreat independently. Some go northwest toward Caesarea. Some go west toward the Jordan fords. Some don't move and get encircled. Vahan's command structure is complex, too complex for battlefield adaptation. He has 5 subcommanders, each controlling 6,000 men, each from different military traditions. When the signalmen die, the subcommanders can't communicate. One subcommander, Niketas, decides to hold position and fights a defensive battle for 3 hours against Khalid's infantry. Niketas commands Armenian heavy infantry, men who've trained together for years. They form a shield wall, 6 ranks deep, and refuse to move. Khalid's infantry can't break them, so Khalid doesn't try. He leaves 2,000 men to pin Niketas in place and maneuvers around him. By evening, Niketas is surrounded on 3 sides with the gorge at his back. He realizes the position is hopeless and orders a retreat. His men break formation and run for the bridges. Half make it. The other half, roughly 3,000 men, die in the gorge either from falls or from Muslim cavalry waiting at the bottom. Muslim scouts, 40 men who'd been mapping escape routes for 2 weeks, reach all 3 ahead of the Byzantine rearguard. At Al-Ruqad, they don't destroy the bridge. They hold it. When the first Roman column arrives, 2,000 infantry and 300 cavalry, they find 180 Muslim spearmen in a shield wall 6 men deep. The Romans try to force through. They lose 4,200 in 90 minutes. The survivors turn back into the plateau, where Khalid's main force is already closing. Up, unable to advance or retreat, the first Roman assault hits the shield wall with 300 men. They're pushing against 6 layers of overlapping shields held by men who've drilled this formation for years. The front Muslim rank kneels, spears braced against the ground at 45-degree angles. The second rank stands, spears leveled at chest height. The third rank uses longer spears, aimed over the second rank's shoulders. The 4th, 5th, and 6th ranks wait with swords. If the front ranks fall, they step forward. They don't fall. The Romans push for 20 minutes, lose 130 men, and pull back. After 30 minutes, the Romans break off. They've lost another 400 men. The Muslim casualties, 11 dead, 28 wounded. The Romans try a third assault with 700 men, every available fighter in the column. This time, they almost break through. The front Muslim rank collapses under the weight. The second rank steps up. For 5 minutes, the battle is hand-to-hand in the killing zone. Then Muslim reinforcements arrive. 200 cavalry from Khalid's reserve who've ridden from the main battle. The cavalry doesn't cross the bridge. They circle around the Roman column on the plateau side and attack from behind. The Romans are trapped between the shield wall and the bridge and cavalry at their backs. They break. The survivors flee back toward the Byzantine camp. Total Roman losses at Al-Ruqad: 400 dead, 200 wounded. Muslim losses: 34 dead, 67 wounded. He gets a head-on charge. Khalid's tactic, recorded in Futuh al-Sham, a 9th century military manual, is simple. His front rank lowers lances and aims for Byzantine horses, not riders. A horse with a belly wound throws its rider and crashes into the mount behind it. Darajan's column loses cohesion in 200 paces. The second Muslim wave, swordsman, hits the scattered infantry. Darajan dies sword in hand. His head is later found 400 paces from where the charge began, separated from his body by a single stroke. His infantry carries Sassanid-style shields and spears. They fought together for a decade. They should be able to break through 900 Muslim cavalry. Khalid doesn't give him 10 minutes. The charge begins immediately. 900 cavalry at full gallop, covering half a league in 4 minutes. Darajan's front ranks barely have time to raise shields before impact. The column compresses as men in the rear push forward into the wreckage. The second Muslim wave, 300 swordsmen, rides into the gap, cutting down dismounted cavalry and infantry too compressed to fight effectively. The third Muslim wave, 400 archers, circles wide and shoots into the column's flanks at point-blank range, 30 paces or less, where even lamellar armor can be penetrated by a heavy arrow. He's surrounded by 200 of his best men, veterans who fought in 20 battles. They form a tight cluster and try to break through the Muslim line. Khalid's cavalry parts, lets them through, then closes behind them. Darajan realizes too late. He's been separated from his infantry. He's now 400 paces ahead of his column with 200 cavalry and 900 Muslim cavalry surrounding him. He charges anyway. His men follow. The engagement lasts 8 minutes. All 200 of Darajan's cavalry die. Darajan's body is found by Muslim scouts the next morning. His armor is intact. No penetrating wounds to the torso. His head is missing. A Muslim soldier later claims he took it in battle with a single sword stroke, a boast recorded in al-Waqidi's chronicle. The claim is plausible. Sassanid helmets have a neck guard that protects against side cuts, but not overhead cuts. A downward sword stroke at the base of the helmet can sever the spine and neck in one hit. The Armenians march 18 miles in 14 hours without water. At dusk, they reach a wadi the scouts said had a spring. The spring is dry. It's been a hot summer, and the water table is down. The Armenians camp. At midnight, Khalid's main force, 4,000 men who've been trailing a league behind, surrounds the wadi and waits for dawn. At sunrise, the Armenians try to break out. They're thirsty, exhausted, and uphill from the Muslim line. They lose 9,000. Buchnader surrenders with 800 men. He's executed 2 days later in Damascus. Roman sources say beheaded. Muslim sources say he was given the option of conversion and refused. In August, after a dry summer, it's empty. Just mud and stones. The Armenian scouts who reported the spring had been there in spring 6 months earlier, when water was abundant. They don't know it's seasonal? When the Armenians turn east toward the wadi, Khalid's scouts ride ahead and confirm the spring is dry. Khalid doesn't tell the Armenians. He lets them walk into the trap. When they see the wadi, a depression in the landscape where water should be, they rush toward it. The front ranks reach the mud first and realize there's no water. But the rear ranks are still pushing forward, unaware. Within minutes, 12,000 men are packed into a space designed for maybe 2,000. They can't deploy, they can't form ranks. They're just a mass of exhausted, thirsty men in a hole. Khalid's main force, 4,000 cavalry and infantry, arrives at the wadi 2 hours later. They don't attack immediately. They surround the wadi, 200 men on each side, and wait. At dawn, when the Armenians realize they're surrounded, Khalid sends a messenger. Surrender or die of thirst. He orders his men to break out. The problem, they're at the bottom of a wadi, uphill from the Muslim line, exhausted and thirsty. The Muslim soldiers, who've slept and eaten and have full water skins, are fresh. The Armenians climb the wadi slope, 200 paces at a 15-degree incline in full armor, without water. Half collapse before reaching the top. The half that makes it meets Khalid's infantry. 2,000 men in a line 3 ranks deep with spears leveled. The Armenians charge. They're too tired to fight effectively. They push against the Muslim line, swords and spears clashing for 20 minutes. Then they break. Some retreat back into the wadi. Some try to flee east. Khalid's cavalry rides them down. They're marched to Damascus, held for 2 days. Then Buchnader is brought before the Muslim governor. He's offered conversion. He refuses. He's executed August 21 in the courtyard of what used to be the Byzantine governor's palace. The method is beheading. His 800 men are held for another week, then released under a negotiated treaty. They march to Anatolia. Most never fight again. Vahan escapes with 5,000 cavalry, riding west through the Jordan Valley and reaching Caesarea 6 days later. He reports to Emperor Heraclius that the army is destroyed. Heraclius, who's in Antioch, 300 miles north, receives the dispatch September 1st. Within a week, he orders the evacuation of Syria. The entire province, Damascus, Homs, Aleppo, the coastal cities, is abandoned. Roman garrisons withdraw to Anatolia. The civilian population, roughly 2 million people, is left to negotiate terms with the Muslims. Coastal cities. The empire doesn't have the resources. Ships are requisitioned from merchants. Wagons are seized from civilians. Pack animals are bought at inflated prices. A donkey that cost 3 gold solidi in July costs 15 in September of bronze nummi. All of it has to be moved. The gold goes first, 200,000 coins weighing 900 kilograms, packed in 180 leather bags, loaded on 45 wagons guarded by 500 soldiers. The convoy leaves Damascus September 3rd and reaches Antioch September 19th. The silver goes next, but there aren't enough wagons. Half of it is hidden in the Damascus Mint, buried in the basement sealed with bricks. The Muslims find it 3 months later. The bronze is abandoned entirely, too heavy, too low value. Citizens loot the mint in early October. Thousands of bronze coins flood the Damascus markets, crashing the local economy for a year. When the evacuation order comes, many refuse to leave. The commanders can't force them, they're outnumbered by the local population, and forcing soldiers to abandon their families would trigger mutinies. In the end, only professional soldiers and imperial officials evacuate. Local recruits stay. Estimates vary, but roughly 20,000 to 25,000 Byzantine soldiers desert or defect in September and October 636. If you value documented military history and primary source battlefield analysis like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. Khalid's terms are recorded in a treaty document preserved in the Kitab al-Kharaj by Abu Yusuf, written in 798. No looting, no enslavement, no forced conversions, and a tax rate identical to what Rome charged. The city's Christian and Jewish populations stay. The garrison leaves. Syria flips from Byzantine to Muslim control without a single civilian casualty in Caesarea. Roman sources claim 70,000 dead. Muslim sources say 80,000. Modern historians, using osteological evidence from mass graves near Al-Ruqad, estimate 40,000 to 50,000, mostly Byzantine. The gorge is impassable for weeks. Corpses block the river. A Byzantine pilgrim traveling through in 638, 2 years later, writes that bones still cover the ground like stones in a riverbed. He counts 14 skulls in a single square pace. The smell, he says, reaches Damascus, 70 miles north. 3 reasons, all documented. First, mobility. Khalid's cavalry is faster. Roman cataphracts, armored cavalry, wear 60 pounds of lamellar. Muslim cavalry wears leather, in mail, 30 pounds total. In 40-degree heat, the Romans tire in 2 hours. The Muslims can fight all day. Al-Baladhuri's Futu al-Buldan, written in the 860s from military tax records, notes that Khalid's cavalry consumed 12 pounds of grain and 6 gallons of water per horse per day, half what Byzantine horses needed, and could march 40 miles a day versus 25 for Roman columns. During the council, Khalid's cavalry encircles the Byzantine camp. By the time Vahan decides to retreat, the escape routes are already blocked. Army deserted between June and August, before the battle even started. Khalid's army has 0 desertions. One chronicler notes that Muslim soldiers who fled during the battle were executed by their own officers. 6 men are named, all from the same clan, killed on August 16th for breaking formation. By 650, the Byzantine Empire has lost 2/3 of its territory and half its revenue. Heraclius, the emperor who defeated Persia and reclaimed the True Cross, dies in 641, broken by the knowledge that he couldn't stop Khalid. His last recorded words, from a letter to his nephew: "Farewell, Syria. How excellent a land this is for the enemy." Born circa 585 in Mecca, clan of Banu Makhzum, one of the wealthiest families in the city. His father, Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira, leads the Quraysh opposition to Muhammad. Khalid fights against the Muslims at Badr in 624 and at Uhud in 625. At Uhud, he commands the Meccan cavalry that breaks the Muslim line and nearly kills Muhammad. He's 40 years old, a veteran of 2 decades of desert warfare and Muhammad's most dangerous enemy. Khalid's pre-Islamic career includes at least 6 intertribal wars, notably the Fijar Wars between Quraysh and Hawazin from 580 to 590. By age 15, he's leading cavalry raids. At Badr, March 624, his 50-man cavalry covers the Meccan retreat, preventing total annihilation. At Uhud, March 625, his 200 cavalry execute the decisive flanking maneuver that breaks the Muslim line. Muhammad is wounded, 2 teeth broken, lip cut. The Muslims retreat. For 4 years after, Muhammad avoids battle when Khalid is present. Khalid fights for Islam for 13 years, never wavers, and remains loyal even after dismissal in 638. At the Battle of Yarmouk, December 632, he defeats Musaylima, a rival prophet who commands 40,000 men. Khalid's force, 13,000. Muslim casualties, 1,200 dead, including 70 Quran reciters, men who've memorized the entire text. The loss is so severe that Abu Bakr orders the Quran written down for the first time. to preserve it in case more reciters die. Khalid wins, but barely. Khalid's cavalry charges Musaylama's infantry and can't break them, shields locked, spears bristling. After 2 hours, he pulls back, 300 cavalry lost. Then an archery duel. Khalid's 2,000 archers against Musaylama's 5,000. 1 hour, arrows darkening the sky. Khalid loses 400. Musaylama loses 1,200. The difference, Khalid's archers are trained Yemenis. Then infantry assault, 8,000 men, hand-to-hand, 3 hours. Musaylama's line retreats into a walled garden. The fighting inside lasts 2 hours, no quarter. Musaylima dies from a javelin to the chest, surrounded by 80 dead guards. Total, 21,000 of Musaylima's 40,000 dead. After Yamama, the rebel tribes surrender. By March 633, all Arabia submits. He wins 4 battles in 6 months, including the Battle of Chains at Al-Ubula, where he defeats a Persian force double his size by using iron chains to block the enemy's cavalry charges, hence the name. His tactic is brutal. He chains captured Persian cavalry horses together in groups of 10, 40-foot iron chains, salvaged from Al-Ubula shipwrecks, positioned 200 paces in front of his line. When the Persian cavalry charges, 500 horses at full gallop, they crash into the chained horses. Formation disintegrates. Khalid's infantry moves in. The Persians lose 8,000. Khalid loses 200. The Persian commander, Hormuz, dies from an arrow to the neck. The Byzantine counteroffensive, led by Theodore Tritherius, has retaken 3 cities. Khalid marches from Iraq to Syria, 400 miles, in 5 days, crossing the Syrian desert with 800 cavalry and no supply train. He carries water in leather bags, 6 gallons per man, enough for the journey if no one drinks more than a pint a day. 2 men die of thirst. The rest arrive in Damascus ahead of schedule. Theodore, expecting Khalid to take 2 weeks, is caught unprepared. Khalid attacks immediately. Theodore's army, 8,000 men, is routed in 3 hours. Theodore escapes, but his supply camp, 400 wagons, is captured intact. The math is brutal. 800 men and 800 horses need 16,000 gallons total at normal consumption. Impossible. Khalid cuts consumption in half. Men drink half a gallon per day. Horses drink 2 instead of 3, bringing total to 10,000 gallons, 38 tons. Still impossible to carry. Solution. Bedouin guides find 4 ancient Nabataean wells. 2 have water, 2 are dry. Khalid's column hits the wells on schedule, refills, and keeps moving. Total time, 85 hours. 2 men die, 3 horses die. May 15th, they reach Damascus. May 16th, dawn attack on Theodore's scattered camps. First camp falls in 30 minutes. Theodore retreats to Antioch. Muslim casualties, 18 dead, 40 wounded. From the front, and the willingness to kill deserters from his own side to maintain discipline. Khalid's goal is to exhaust the Byzantines, force them to deploy in defensive formation, and wear down their cavalry. By August 15th, Vahan's cavalry is already at half strength. Khalid knows this. His scouts count Byzantine horse casualties daily. The Byzantine command doesn't know Muslim losses because Khalid rotates his frontline units every 6 hours, making it look like he has more men than he does. The battle itself is less a single engagement than a series of coordinated strikes. Day 1. Khalid attacks the Byzantine left, not to win, but to force Vahan to commit his reserves. Day 2. He attacks the right, same goal. Day 3. He feints at the center, then pulls back, drawing Vahan's center forward into the killing zone. Day 4. He surrounds the center, collapses it, and cuts off retreat. Day 5. He hunts down the fragments. It's textbook maneuver warfare. The Byzantines fight a positional battle trying to hold ground. Khalid fights a movement battle trying to destroy the enemy's ability to fight. The Byzantines need to win every engagement. Khalid only needs to win the last one. They're met by Khalid's personal guard, 200 men who fought at his side since Iraq. The column is destroyed in 40 minutes, no prisoners. The Byzantine bodies are left where they fall. A year later, a Muslim tax collector traveling through the area reports that wolves won't go near the site. Too many bones, too much old blood. Tax revenue drops 40%. He can't pay his army. Mutinies break out in Anatolia and North Africa. In 638, he tries to retake Syria with a smaller force, 20,000 men. They're defeated at the Battle of Iron Bridge by a Muslim force half that size. Heraclius never campaigns again. By 650, it's the largest empire in the world, stretching from Morocco to Afghanistan. Yarmouk is the hinge. Without Yarmouk, the Byzantines hold Syria, hold Egypt, and contain the caliphate in Arabia. With Yarmouk, the Byzantines lose everything. Others say Umar fears Khalid's popularity. Soldiers worship him, and Umar worries he might become a rival. The most detailed account from al-Waqidi's Kitab al-Maghazi says Umar believes Khalid is too brutal, too willing to kill prisoners and deserters. Khalid, who's won every battle he's fought, is removed from command and reassigned to Homs as a common soldier. No state funeral, no honors. The man who destroyed the Byzantine army, who conquered Syria and Iraq, dies in obscurity. His gravestone, found in the 19th century as a simple marker, Khalid ibn al-Walid, soldier. British officers in North Africa read al-Tabari to understand desert logistics. Khalid's battles, especially Yarmouk, become templates for asymmetric warfare. Smaller force defeats, larger force through mobility, surprise, and the exploitation of command failures. Theophanes says 80,000 Byzantines, 50,000 dead. Modern estimates, using archaeological evidence and demographic modeling, suggest 80,000 to 100,000 Byzantines, 40,000 to 50,000 dead. The Muslim numbers are more consistent. 15,000 fighters, 3,000 dead. They have the defensive position. They have the terrain. They should win. Every Byzantine decision, advance, hold, retreat, leads to disaster because Khalid has already planned for it. Advance downslope, flank attack, hold position, encirclement, retreat, ambush. Vahan's only option is to win a frontal battle against a smaller, faster, more disciplined force. He can't. Carbon dating later confirms 7th century. Grave goods include Byzantine coins minted in 630 and a single Arabic inscription on a stone, "Here lie the enemies of God." The fort was abandoned, the weapons left behind. The archaeologists date the abandonment to 636. One skull has a sword cut that goes through the bone and out the other side, a single stroke that killed instantly. That describes exactly what Khalid did at Yarmouk. Feigned retreats, flank attacks, encirclements, cutting off retreat routes. Leo writes, "The Arabs do not fight as we do. They do not hold ground. They move constantly, forcing us to react. By the time we react, they have moved again. This is why we lose." The Byzantines keep losing to the Arabs, all the way to 1453, when Constantinople falls to the Ottoman Turks, who use tactics refined from Khalid's playbook. The Abbasid Revolution in 750, smaller Abbasid force defeats larger Umayyad force by cutting off retreat. The Battle of Manzikert in 1071, Seljuk Turks defeat Byzantine Empire using feigned retreat and encirclement, the same tactics Khalid used 435 years earlier. But Khalid is the first to systematize them, to turn them into doctrine. His battles are studied, replicated, taught. His name becomes synonymous with military genius in the Islamic world, the same way Alexander's name does in the West. He makes decisions without consulting Medina. At Yarmouk, he negotiates terms with Vahan without Umar's permission. Umar sees this as insubordination. At the Battle of Chains, he used captured horses as weapons. At Yarmouk, he blocked retreat routes, ensuring maximum enemy casualties. Umar, who's trying to build a stable empire, sees this as problematic. You can't govern a province if you've killed everyone who lives there. His obituary in Tarikh al-Tabari is 2 sentences. Khalid ibn al-Walid died in Homs. He was buried there. The grave contains a sword, iron, double-edged, 34 inches long, with an Arabic inscription on the blade, "I am the sword of God." Europe. Or, a third tradition, the grave was looted in the 14th century and the body was burned by locals who believed Khalid's bones had magical properties. The mass graves were exhumed in the 20th century. The bones were reburied in an ossuary near Al-Ruqad. The gorge is quiet. Tourists visit in summer. There's a marker. Here, in August 636, the Muslim army defeated the Byzantine Empire. No mention of Khalid, no mention of the 50,000 dead, just a stone with a date. The Middle East today, Syria, Palestine, Jordan, Israel, is shaped by what happened in that gorge. The Byzantine Empire never recovers. The Muslim Caliphate rises. Christianity and Islam split geographically. Christianity in Europe, Islam in the Middle East and North Africa. That split defines world history for the next millennium. The Crusades, the Ottoman Empire, the modern Middle East, all of it traces back to Yarmouk. And, at the center of it, one man, 15,000 soldiers in 6 days in August 636. A battle that should have been impossible, a victory that changed the world, an outcome so lopsided that historians still argue about how it happened. And the sword of God, who made it all possible, died forgotten in a city he conquered, buried in a grave that's now empty, remembered only by an inscription that says, "Victorious in all his battles." Violent death, scattered like stones in a riverbed, exactly where the Byzantine pilgrims said they'd be 400 years ago.